So this is Dr. Rozakis. I'm the co-founder of XR. The other co-founder is Vasily, who is on the phone with me as well. He's going to be presenting. So I'm the chief medical officer and co-founder. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist, and I've been working for the past 10 years to bring the power of epigenetics and physiology to help patients with migraine and eye conditions. I also happen to be one of the first surgeons in the world to do LASIK eye surgery. I won an award for that in 1998, and then in 2015, I won the Advancements in Healthcare Award in Cleveland, Ohio, for the work you're about to see today. You're going to learn about Brian Bakke today. He's our Chief Science Officer. He's a brilliant expert in biochemistry and organic chemistry and has a deep knowledge of genetics, nutrigenomics, inflammation, the biochemistry of food, and the science of methylation. Vasily is a co-founder. He's our Chief Technology Officer. He's a biomedical engineer. And Jeff Brady is our CEO. So I want you to learn something today. All of you are taking medications for migraine, and I want to teach you that optimizing physiology works really well. And so physiology is what we're talking about today. We're not talking about a new drug. So what is physiology? It's the branch of biology that deals with the normal function of living organisms and their parts. What does that mean? Well, anatomy, Hippocrates, 2,500 years ago. Or 2500 BC, actually. Biochemistry, invented in 1833, not long ago. And then the discovery of DNA, 1955. Then epigenetics, or gene expression, that was in the year 2000. That's only 16 years ago. It took all of this genius here to get us to the point we are now, where we can finally help you with your migraines. So for those of you in the audience, this presentation has value if you're a patient, an internist, family practice doctor, a neurologist. If you're in the audience, welcome. We'd love to work with you. Eye doctors see migraine patients, corporations who are trying to lower their cost of care, and insurance companies who are also trying to find better ways and more cost-effective ways to lower the cost of migraine care because it's expensive. But my goal is to rid you of your migraines. So what makes this different is that it is based upon the incredible science from the Human Genome Project. So I'm Dr. Rozakis. I'm a biomedical engineer, and as any engineer, I like it when things make sense. Our whole team is full of engineers and PhDs. As you know, I'm a LASIK surgeon. I invented something called custom LASIK, which is finally being done today. So I just love science. I love research. After I pioneered LASIK, I found that physiology can help treat disease at its root causes. That's the key. It is at its root causes through physiology, and that led to XRMD. And XR, if you haven't picked it up yet, is the opposite of RX. So RX is your prescription. XR is physiology. It's not pharmacology. And over the last 10 years, I pulled together the best minds to figure out what is causing disease and how to treat those causes and thus prevent and treat disease. So I picked migraine and macular degeneration as the diseases I want XRMD to focus on. I chose migraine because I want to put an end to the misery that you are in. It's not fair. If you're a parent, I want you to have quality time with your children. If you're married, I want you to have marriage and a relationship with your spouse. And I want to stop your pain. I want to get you back into the game of life and start working again. And I want to protect you from the progressive nature of the disease. Many of you probably have figured out that this thing you have that you call migraine is actually progressive. We'll talk more about that. And we need to do this at a price you can afford. I chose macular degeneration because, quite simply, I'm an ophthalmologist with blindness. That's me. This is an award I won in 2015. I was nominated by my patients and selected by a committee to win this Advancements in Healthcare Award in Cleveland, Ohio. It was kind of nice. It was a real honor that day. So we discovered things, and it's important to understand, we discovered things. So we have an incredible depth of understanding of everything I'm going to show you today. And it's important because when you're dealing with people who have actually figured out something, you're dealing with the people who really deeply understand it. When I was pioneering LASIK, I had to figure it out. And I can teach somebody how to do LASIK, but they'll never know it like I know it because I had to figure it out. And the same thing here. So we figured out a lot. I'm going to show you. So we figured out that your causes of migraine are unique to you. Each and every one of you have different causes of migraine. It's not one disease. And there's a process of care that's necessary to fix this problem. It's a lot like a chess game. And listen to this. The causes of your migraine, there's plural there, right? The causes of your migraine are responsible for your related symptoms, like your fatigue, your joint pain, your fibromyalgia, and the diseases within your family history. I'll talk more about that later. And number 4, this is cellular medicine. In other words, everything I'm going to show you today has to do with making the cells in your body healthy. And when you make cells healthy, then it just makes all of you healthy, and we can prevent and treat disease. So let's talk about that. Your causes of migraine are unique to you, and you have not been treated. So when I asked you earlier what medications you're on, those weren't treating your migraine. Those were just suppressing your symptoms. Because, there's an old expression, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So what does that mean? It means when all you have is a hammer, you're using the wrong tool for the job. The problem is not a nail, it's a screw. It needs a crowbar. It needs something different than a hammer. So these are all the hammers that are being used to prevent or treat migraine. Topamax, amitriptyline, propranolol, etc. You've probably been on many of these medications. These are not treating the root cause of the condition. So your physiology, therefore, is getting hammered, if you will, by these medications that are, just suppressing the disease but not getting to its root cause. It's a big deal, and they also cause side effects. And then there are the Sledge-Hammers that do not treat the causes of migraine, such as Botox and nerve-cutting surgery, nerve stimulators, even hysterectomies, and God knows what. So all of these hammers have not been treating your migraine because in the bottom left, you see it says they are not physiologic. And there, again, are all the different hammers, if you will. So about 4 years ago, all I had was one hammer as well. It was hormones. So we were using hormone restoration, improving the physiology of people with hormones. And for the right patients, it was working. We got great results, but it was for the right patients. It was good, but it wasn't good enough. But at least it was physiologic, because you want your hormones to be in proper working order, because your body will work better. Even if you don't have migraine, you want your hormones to be at the right levels. So then along came Brian Bakke, PhD, as I mentioned earlier. Dr. Bakke is a PhD in biochemistry and organic chemistry, and he just knows a lot. But more importantly, one of his family members had migraine, and I tried to help his family member with hormones. Well, guess what? It didn't work. But what did work was the relationship that Dr. Bakke and I developed, where together we started talking about biochemistry and genetics and methylation and all these fascinating concepts. And so the more we talked, the more we decided to see if we could combine our efforts and try to treat his family member. And we did, and it worked. And I said, okay, this is interesting. What do we have here? And what we had here was the combination of science, which the PhDs have, and clinical skill, which the have. And so we went to work. Dr. Bakke and I kept treating patients, and finally we pulled them out of industry to work with us. And so what did we learn? Well, we learned a lot about genetics. Remember, we're 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? We're made of 30,000 genes, so the genetic part was a big part of our focus now that Dr. Bakke was on board. So what's going on with genetics these days? Well, did you know that you're built of 5 billion code letters? 5 billion code letters. And either it's an A, a G, a C, or a T. Okay, so this is the code, A, G, C, or T. All these codes create all the genes in you. So guess what? We're not perfect. Geez, that's what the Human Genome Project taught us. So when you have an imperfection, like an A instead of a T, we call that a single nucleotide polymorphism, which is a fancy way of saying a misspelling. Okay, single meaning one. Nucleotide, these are nucleotides, A, G, C, and T, and a polymorphism means it's a misspelling. So it's fancy medical jargon to confuse people. But the bottom line is we have misspellings. So what does that mean? Well, it means something. If your code for a gene is fine, like here's a gene, so what does a gene do? It makes something like a protein or an enzyme. And if the code is good, then the enzyme will be good. And this enzyme here takes these two guys, puts them together, and makes something else at the speed of 65. Okay? All right, real simple, gene, enzyme, this is biochemistry. But if you have a misspelling, a SNP, like a G instead of a T, then the enzyme will be defective, which means it won't work as well, which means it will produce product X at 30 miles an hour. Well, that's not good. That's a problem. That's a source of disease. That's a cause. So we started looking at this incredible pathway called methylation. It's right here. So you see these genes in here, these yellow, these green colored, rectangles, I guess. These are all normal. They're green in color, which means there's no errors. That's what green means. Yellow means single error. Red means double. And this is biochemistry that you're looking at. So think of it like a map. These are roads, and these are all green lights. So everything is moving along pretty well. But the bottom line is that this biochemistry has to create something called methylation, which is a carbon atom. That's really critically important for DNA, RNA. It's really super important for health. Methylation is a big deal. Here are the hormones we talked about earlier, right? So we have hormones. So we started applying methylation to migraine. And it seemed to help. I say, okay, this is good. Then we kept working. And we actually wrote something. We wrote this paper here. It was a press release back in 2013 where we said, this methylation thing is a big deal. So we created something called GEMS. And the point of GEMS is that many diseases are related to methylation. So these are typical diseases that run in your family history. Many of you have these. So many of you, probably all of you, have methylation pathway disturbances. That's why your son or daughter has ADHD, or mom had Alzheimer's or migraine or whatever. The point is that methylation is a big deal. So methylation is important. It became part of our shtick, our approach to the disease. But then there are genes that actually impact food. So that's these little dotted lines here. So we said, food impacts migraine also. So that's nutrigenomics, nutritional genetics. So this gene here, this DAO, if you have that, if it's a bad gene, then it's going to cause you to not need to eat foods, or you must not eat certain foods. They become grade F foods, this little food report down here. So now we're doing methylation and nutrigenomics, and people are getting better. Say, this is good. And then we said, hey, what about other problems with food that cause inflammation? Because inflammation can certainly cause migraines. So we figured out how to test for inflammation in food. Okay, so we got that down. And then inflammation is also related to methylation through this little line over here. So we're feeling pretty smart about ourselves because people are getting better and better as we start using all these new tools, right? And by the way, you see this inflammation and this nutrigenomic thing? There's a lot of data here, and Vasily brilliantly figured out that we can combine the two into this brilliant report that integrates genetic problems with foods and inflammatory problems with foods. So in one report, we have a game-changing approach to helping people figure out how to eat. So whether you want to lose weight or whatever you want to do, you just don't want to be eating in the grade F category down here. This is grade A, B, C, D, and F. Okay, let's move on. There's one other area that's important, and that's oxidative stress. This glutathione down here, this is really important, oxidation. So we, sort of bootstrapped our way up the ladder with hormones, like I told you, methylation, nutrigenomics, inflammatory food, oxidative stress, all of this. We kind of started putting it all together, and we kept treating patients, haphazardly with one at a time. We were testing one thing at a time, and then we asked one of our staff members to go look and see how the migraine patients, how they doing. And my God, we didn't believe the results. They're doing phenomenally well. They were having people with 30 migraines a month were like down to nothing. They were like here, and this is like over 24 months. Remember, we were learning. This is our learning curve, and these were an average of 13 migraine days per month, and we got these results. So now you understand why I decided to go and bring us into the world of migraine. That's why we're here, because of this graph. So I love to make words up that combine everything. So I came up with the word homing, best I could do. Bingo is another one. You can kind of finagle that out of here. But homing, hormone therapy, oxidative stress, methylation, inflammation, nutrigenomics, and gene expression, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later. this is what you need to have to stop a migraine. You need to do this. This is why you're here in this lecture. You've come to this lecture to get this, because this is going to help your migraines. So what is it again? You have to eat for your genes. You have to reduce oxidative stress. You have to improve your methylation, reduce inflammation, balance your hormones, and then turn on your good genes and turn off your bad genes. But you got to do everything else to earn this. It's really interesting. Let's keep going. So this is a chess game, because now we have all these pieces, right? You know, you're starting to understand that, you know, we have a lot of things that we have to check, and then we have to adjust and move and fix your biochemistry. So your migraines are lurking inside this infographic. That's what you have. That's why you're here. So here's a real patient, okay? Where you see yellow, you're looking at a single mutation. Where you see red, you're looking at a double mutation. So this is one of many migraine patients that we treated. And remember I said before, everybody's different. Everybody has different combinations of errors in their physiology. This one here has more hormonal problems, and it's got a genetic error here at CBS, and this is VDR, and then BHMT. So this is like a chessboard. Okay, I'm showing you the chessboard. So everybody's different. This is what we have to do to fix your migraines. We have to figure out where the chess pieces are, and then we have to play the game and help you not have migraine. In other words, we have to fix your physiology, overcome these errors in you hormonally, biochemically, etc. And that's going to get you where you want to get to. And you can see everybody's different. Everybody's different. Now, we talked about food. This is what Vasily invented, which was brilliant. And so first of all, these are the foods that cause inflammation. Everything in green means it's all good. But this could be you. You could have all these red spots here, which are large numbers, which indicate that these foods cause inflammation. But you don't know what your foods are. So you might be this person, and you have a huge problem with egg white. So the eggs you had this morning are going to cause you a migraine tomorrow, but you can't put it together because you don't know, what you ate and what headache you got. So this is an important part of your therapeutic strategy. But everybody's different is the next person and the next person. So everybody's different. I think you got it. And then as we said, genetics also impacts food. I showed you that earlier. So that's when we created, or Vasily created, this beautiful report. And everybody is different. So you can eliminate the foods directly that are participating in causing migraines just with this report alone. Without the report, it's going to take you 1 to 2 years to figure out what foods are causing you these problems, according to the dietitians we've presented this to. So again, everybody's different. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. It's really cool. Everybody's different. Does that make sense? Are we good? We talked a lot. I just took you through some major science. What I just showed you, your doctors never heard of before. It's all new to them. We educate doctors on this. This is groundbreaking. This is inventive. And we figured this out painstakingly over a long period of time to get to this point. So I hope you could appreciate that. Now let me tell you a little, I promised you, right? I would teach you about gene expressions. Let me do that. So tucked up here in the corner is this little arrow. It says gene expression. What is that? It's fascinating. It's incredible. It's the idea, the reality, that what genes are turned on and turned off really matter. You see, it's not just your genetic code, which I taught you earlier. It's whether the gene is on or off. And so here's a gene. You see it here, this little strand of DNA. And if it's on, shown by that arrow there, it's going to lead to a substance in your biochemistry, an enzyme, a protein, whatever. But do we want this gene to be on? Should it be off? So this idea that we need to turn off genes that cause migraine is one of the players here. So in the word homing, G comes last. So HOMING, you have to do all of these, hormone, oxidative stress, methylation, inflammation, nutrigenomics, to get to the G. So that's why I've got the camel here with 2 humps. Okay, you want to get to the G. The G is a big deal. This is epigenetics, gene expressions. It's the hottest field in medicine today. And there's one gene called RAMP1, which actually is turned on. Many of you have this gene, and it needs to be turned off because that can also help stop migraine. So here's the fascination of all of this genetic work. See, we're treating your genetics. We're treating your genetics. When we put people on our programs and treat them, we're treating your genetics by turning on the good and turning off the bad genes, and fixing your biochemistry where your genetics or your genetic code is causing malfunction. So this little graphic down here was where we talked about misspellings in the genetic code causing problems. And this picture over here, at least actually this picture here, we talked about the enzymes and that. And then this picture over here on the left is the on-off control of genes. And that's all affected by the graphic in the middle. Okay, now I want you to imagine a car with 4 flat tires, because that's what you have. You have a car with 4 flat tires, and those 4 flat tires are causing your migraines. So if we're going to get you back onto the highway of life, we have to fix the 4 flat tires. Whether it's hormones, methylation, nutrition, whatever, we got to fill those tires with air so that you can get what you're here for, which is to get back to work, enjoy your family, and not be in pain. Basically, be able to plan your life without having to worry about having the next migraine. I hope you understood. I hope things are making sense. Okay, so now, it's really important to understand that a comprehensive process of care is necessary to stop having migraines. And we have to identify the causes, make an initial plan, and then fine-tune or tweak. So this is also analogous to taking a trip. You want to take a trip to the Caribbean, and the weather's bad, but you want to get to that Caribbean because when you get there, you're migraine-free. That's the goal. So we have to find out what your causes are so we can point you in the right direction. We have to create your initial flight plan based on the data that we find to plot the most efficient and safest way there. And then we have to tweak and adjust as your body responds. So we're like ground control. Here's XR on the bottom right. We're ground control, and we're trying to help you avoid storms and minimize turbulence once we take off there. So some of you are great candidates. You're like, we live in Florida. It's a quick hop and a jump to the Caribbean, so it's a clear and logical flight plan. There's not a lot going on. We'll get you there, no problem. Some of you live in Portland, where the weather is bad, and you're going to need some frequent tweaking and adjusting. Well, we'll get you there. All right, no problem. If you're coming from a really nasty airport where it's really dangerous, like this one here in Honduras, you might have some medical problems that are really, challenging. So we can't fully predict what we're going to encounter, but we're still going to try to get you to the Caribbean. Okay, let's go on. Discovery 3, the causes of migraine are responsible for your associated symptoms and diseases within your family history. What does that mean? It means when we ask you, when you fill out your history, I want to know if you've got eczema or depression or sleep problems or diabetes or fatigue or fibromyalgia, if there's a history of heart disease. Well, see all these historical issues, these symptoms, a lot of these are actually caused by the same causes that cause migraine. And a lot of these, if not most of them, get better when you treat the migraine. That's what's cool. That's really cool. So this homing thing we keep talking about, remember that it's really, instructive. So if you treat methylation pathway disturbances, you're going to help a lot of things. Prevent macular anxiety, fibromyalgia, arthritis, migraine, of course, menopause, ED. I mean, all of these things help everything. Okay? That's important because he's addressed root causes of disease. That's the key. Now, this is the current paradigm. This is the paradigm you're in right now. You're taking a drug for a symptom, a drug for a symptom, one drug for a symptom. It's old school. It doesn't get down to root cause. And I call it symptom suppression. And these same homing disturbances are affecting or affected your family history. That's the reality. So these are the things we're talking about. A lot of you have these problems in your family history. Joint pain, rheumatoid, early age heart disease, depression, addiction's fairly common, and the like. So this is important. And you have to remember, like I said earlier, your condition is progressive, okay? Unfortunately, it's unlikely to get better on its own. Even if your symptoms do get better, you still have the underlying causes that are going to cause something else. So you have to cut to the root cause of these things. And these symptoms here, these other symptoms you have, also represent the progressive nature of the condition. Don't feel bad. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but this is fixable, okay? So you got to understand that. We got to get to the causes because it's not a static disease, and you probably know that because you probably had fewer migraines 10, 20 years ago. Okay, let's keep going here. So, homing, these addressed root causes. Okay, now, Discovery 4, it's cellular. You got to think cellular medicine. Everything we talked about thus far is going to help every cell in your body. And by doing that, you can prevent and treat disease. So what does that mean? Well, you would never take Lipitor to prevent elevated cholesterol, right? That would make no sense. Prevention? Well, why would I take Lipitor to prevent? No, never. But if I showed you your homing abnormalities, regardless of symptoms, you would fix it. It's like me saying to you, hey, your car is down to 1 quart of oil. And you might say, yeah, but it still seems to run okay. Yeah, but you're down to 1 quart of oil. Yeah, you're right. I better fill it up. Yeah, no kidding, because you want to prevent problems. So this means we wish we could have treated you before you even started having migraines. And this is why we have to be very focused on pediatric patients, so we could help children to spare them the pain and aggravation that you've had and you've gone through. So remember, this is cellular. So hormones, oxidative stress, methylation, inflammation, nutrigenomics, gene expression, epigenetics all affect each individual cell. So this homing thing helps with anatomy, prevention, treatment, associated symptoms, and family history. Okay, I think you're getting this. So in these past 30 minutes, you've learned a fair amount, I would hope. I think you saw our discovery process, right? I think you're getting a sense of this. So what did we do? We started with hormones. Dr. Baki came on board. We got into genetics. We got into homing, oxidative stress, methylation, all of these fascinating things, and we just learned by doing. We learned by doing, and we just figured it out. So now we're at a point in history where we could actually make the claim that we can smash this migraine problem, even in the toughest cases.